The night sky above Earth was calm. Stars shone like silver points, and the moon gave soft light to the land. People in different parts of the world looked up to enjoy the peaceful view. But then something unusual happened. A cluster of bright lights appeared in the distance. At first, they looked like falling stars. Many people thought they were meteors burning as they entered the atmosphere. But the lights did not fall. They slowed down. They moved with control, not like rocks from space. They shifted in strange patterns, turning and joining together in the air. People recorded the sight with their phones. News channels quickly broadcast the event, and the world's attention turned toward the sky. In the countryside, a farmer named Milan was the first to notice the silence. Normally, nights were filled with the sounds of insects and animals, but everything had gone quiet. He stepped out of his house and looked up. His fields stretched wide and empty, giving him a clear view of the strange lights above. They were too bright, too steady, and too many. His heart beat faster. Soon, the power in his home flickered. The radio in his truck gave out static, and the lights in his barn switched off. Even the wind seemed to stop. Milan stood in the field, unable to move his eyes from the sky. The lights grew larger, and a huge shape began to form behind them. It was not a plane, not a satellite, not anything he had ever seen. It was a ship, massive and silent, sliding across the night like a mountain in the air. In the nearest city, people rushed to rooftops and streets. Children pointed with excitement, while adults whispered in fear. Some prayed. Others shouted that the world was ending. The ships moved slowly, as if they did not care about human reactions. They hovered above the clouds, blocking the stars and casting wide shadows over the land. Around the world, power grids began to flicker. Television signals cut in and out. Old radios picked up strange signals, patterns of sound that no one understood. Scientists in observatories worked quickly, recording every detail. Military forces were placed on alert, though no one dared to fire. The visitors had arrived in silence, but their presence carried great weight. Milan could see one of the ships lowering from the sky. Its dark shape reflected no light, yet its outline was clear against the stars. It was larger than any building he had ever seen, and it moved without sound. Dust rose from the desert ground as the ship descended. He felt his knees weaken. His mind told him to run, but his body stayed frozen. He was witnessing something that no human had seen for thousands of years, though he did not know it yet. All over the planet, people argued about what the lights meant. Were they a message, a warning, or a beginning of war? Leaders called for calm, though they themselves were uncertain. The world had always prepared for the thought of alien life, but now the idea was real. The visitors were here, and they had chosen to reveal themselves in a way no one could ignore. As the ship settled into the desert, the air grew heavy. Milan felt a vibration through the ground. Sand lifted in waves, as if pulled upward by invisible force. Then the great vessel stopped. Its lower surface opened like a door, and beams of pale light spread across the desert floor. No figures stepped out, no sound came forth, but the message was clear. Something ancient and powerful had returned. People watching from far away felt both fear and wonder. This was no human craft. It was older, greater, beyond human design. It was not here by chance. In that silent moment, the earth understood one thing. The lights were not a natural event. The ships were not passing by. They had come with purpose. They had come for something that belonged to them. Milan's breath slowed as he realized that his small farm, his quiet land, was now part of a story that stretched far beyond his understanding. The sky above him was no longer only his sky. It belonged now to both man and something greater. And this was only the beginning. The world did not sleep that night. News channels ran without pause, showing the same images again and again. The giant ships floated above the clouds, unmoving and silent. Governments called emergency meetings. Scientists stayed in their labs, studying every signal and every sound. Soldiers stood ready, though no one knew what they were ready for. In a small university town, Leah, a young historian, sat in her office surrounded by old books and stone carvings. She had studied ancient cultures for years, but now her hands shook as she scrolled through the live pictures of the alien vessels. They were massive, their shapes strange yet familiar in some way. Leah's mind searched through her memory. She had seen something like this before, not in the sky, but in the carvings she had studied from old ruins. On the walls of caves, deep in deserts, there were drawings of tall figures and shining objects above them. Most scholars said these were myths, symbols of gods that early humans imagined. But now, as Leah compared the carvings with the ships on her screen, the match was clear. The same shapes, the same lights, even the same patterns. She whispered to herself, they were here before. Leah printed the pictures and placed them beside the carvings she had copied years ago. She noticed that one symbol appeared again and again. It looked like a star inside a circle. In the carvings, this symbol was always near the figures from the sky. She had once thought it was only decoration. Now she wondered if it was a sign left behind. Around the world, people searched old records, myths, and stories. In villages, elders remembered tales of beings who came from the heavens and taught humans skills. In libraries, forgotten texts spoke of gifts from the sky. For centuries, such stories were treated as legends, but now they returned with new meaning. Meanwhile, in the desert where Milan lived, the ship still waited. Soldiers had surrounded the area, keeping people away. Milan stayed at his farm, unable to forget what he had seen. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the great shape in the sky. He felt both fear and wonder. He did not know why, but he felt as if the ship was not only returning to Earth but also returning to him, to his land, to his people. Back at the university, Leah worked through the night. She searched through her old notes and found a rare tablet she had once translated. It spoke of visitors who came long ago, who lost something of great value, and who promised to return one day. The words were broken and unclear, but the message stood out, the sky ones will seek what was lost. Her heart raced. Could it be true? Had these ships returned to search for something they had lost thousands of years ago? If so, what could it be? The next morning, the government called for experts from every field: science, history, language, and culture. Leah was invited to join the group because of her work on ancient records. She traveled quickly to the capital city, carrying her papers and carvings. When she arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Military officers guarded the halls, scientists argued over data, and leaders looked tired and worried. In a large meeting room, Leah laid out her evidence. She showed the carvings, the symbols, and the words from the tablet. She spoke calmly, though inside she was nervous. These ships are not visiting Earth for the first time, she said. They were here thousands of years ago. The old stories are not only myths. They are memories. They lost something here, and now they have returned to take it back. The room went silent. Some people doubted her, while others leaned closer, curious. A general asked, "What did they lose?" Leah shook her head. The texts do not say clearly. Only that it was something of great value. Maybe a part of their technology, maybe a ship. The leaders exchanged looks. If the aliens were here for lost technology, then that technology could be hidden somewhere on Earth, perhaps even under human cities. That thought made everyone uneasy. As the debate continued, the alien ships above Earth did not move. They hovered like watchers, patient and quiet. People on the ground felt as though the ships were listening, waiting for humans to decide. Leah left the meeting with a heavy heart. She had given her warning, but she felt no relief. Instead, she felt the weight of history pressing down. The world was standing on the edge of something vast and dangerous. She looked up at the sky through the window. The ships were still there, covering the clouds, and she whispered, "They have come back to finish what they started." Milan, far away in his desert home, also stared at the sky that night. He felt a strange connection, as though the ship had chosen to land near him for a reason. He did not understand it, but he knew one thing for sure. Life on Earth would never return to what it was before. And deep under the mountains, where rock and earth had hidden secrets for ages, something waited to be discovered. Something ancient. Something that did not belong to humans. The alien ships stayed in the skies for days. They did not attack, but their silence made the world uneasy. People went to work and school, but their eyes always turned upward. Every night, the ships glowed softly like giant shadows blocking the stars. Governments tried to send messages. They used radio waves, lights, even mathematical codes. At first, no reply came. Then one evening, screens across the planet flickered at once. The same image appeared everywhere, symbols and shapes made of light. The picture showed a great vessel lying under the ground, surrounded by mountains. Leah sat among the experts when the image played on the large screen. Her heart skipped a beat. She recognized the shapes of the mountains. They matched drawings from ancient tablets she had studied. The carvings had shown tall peaks and a shining object buried below them. She leaned forward and whispered, "It is here. The lost ship is real." The message continued. Strange voices filled the air, translated slowly by machines. The aliens explained that 30,000 years ago, one of their great ships had suffered a failure. It had fallen to Earth and could not be recovered. Their people left, but they never forgot. Now they had returned to take it back. The room filled with heavy silence. Leaders exchanged worried looks. A general broke the silence. "If their ship is under our land, then it means advanced technology is hidden here. We cannot allow them to simply take it. That knowledge could change everything." Leah spoke softly, but firmly. "It was theirs first. We should be careful. If we refuse, they may not ask again. They may simply take." Milan, back in the desert, watched the news with disbelief. He thought of the giant ship that had landed near his farm. Now he understood why it came here. The desert was close to the mountains shown in the message. Maybe the old ship was not far from him at all. Soon, armies were sent to secure the area. Trucks rolled across the desert, carrying machines and equipment. Tents rose under the hot sun, and soldiers guarded the mountains. Scientists began digging, searching for signs of the ancient vessel. Milan was curious. At night, he rode his horse closer to the site. From a ridge, he saw bright lights where men worked through the darkness. Machines drilled into the rock. Dust rose into the air, glowing in the light of the flood lamps. He felt a strange pull, as if something below the ground was calling to him. Days turned into weeks. At last, the digging teams broke through to something solid. It was not stone. It was smooth, dark, and cold to the touch. A wall of strange metal stretched beneath the earth. No tool could cut it, and no heat could melt it. The material seemed alive, humming with faint vibration. Scientists cheered. They had found the ship. Cameras filmed the discovery, and the world watched in awe. But with excitement came fear. If this ship still held power, then it could be more advanced than anything humans had built. Some leaders saw danger, while others saw opportunity. Leah was brought to the site. She walked carefully into the tunnels, her lamp casting weak light on the strange surface. She placed her hand on the metal. It was warm, as if it remembered life. "This is not dead," she whispered. "It is only sleeping." The alien ships above Earth reacted at once. Their lights brightened, and their hum grew louder. It was as if they felt the touch of their lost vessel. The sky glowed with energy, and people on the ground covered their ears as deep vibrations rolled across the land. Leaders sent urgent messages to the aliens, asking for more time. They wanted to study the ship before it was returned. But the aliens replied with a warning. Their ship must be restored to them. If humans delayed, consequences would follow. Tension grew. Armies prepared weapons. Scientists worked quickly, scanning the buried craft. Leah tried to calm the leaders. "We should not anger them. We should learn, but also respect. If we fight, we may lose more than we can imagine." Milan, though not a soldier or a scholar, felt the weight of events pressing on him. The land he had known all his life was now the center of the world's greatest mystery. He thought of the silence in the desert when the alien ship had first arrived. It was the silence of something ancient waking after long sleep. And as night fell over the mountains, the buried ship gave a new sign. Strange lights moved under its surface, running like rivers of fire. The ground trembled, and machines around it shut down. Soldiers shouted, but no one could stop it. The alien vessel was no longer waiting to be found. It was beginning to awaken on its own. The question that haunted everyone was simple but terrifying. If the ship awoke fully, would it welcome humanity or reject it? The buried ship did not stay quiet for long. Its surface glowed in lines of light, like veins under skin. Machines around the side failed again and again. Generators shut down, radios filled with static, and compasses spun without rest. The soldiers guarding the tunnels grew nervous. Some whispered that the ship was alive, watching them. Leah stayed close to the strange walls, taking notes and sketches. She noticed that the lights pulsed like a heartbeat. When she placed her hand against the metal, it seemed to answer with warmth. She believed the ship was not only a machine but also something more, something connected to its makers in ways humans could not yet understand. Leaders around the world grew divided. Some wanted to return the ship to the aliens at once, afraid of angering them. Others argued that such power could not be given away. "If this ship holds knowledge of energy and weapons," one general said, "then it could change the balance of the world. We cannot allow strangers to take it from our soil." The decision was made in secret. Human forces would try to hold the ship, no matter what the aliens demanded. Soldiers were ordered to dig deeper and secure more of the vessel. Engineers built barriers around the site, while fighter jets circled above the desert. Milan watched all of this from a distance. His quiet farm was now surrounded by roads, camps, and noise. Trucks roared across the sand, carrying supplies and weapons. At night, the desert no longer lay in silence but echoed with the sound of drills and engines. He felt sadness, as though something pure was being disturbed. Yet he also understood why the leaders acted this way. Humans had always feared losing control, and this ship was unlike anything they had faced before. One evening, Leah walked outside the tents to breathe fresh air. She saw Milan standing at the edge of the camp with his horse. She had noticed him before, watching silently from the ridges. Curious, she approached. "You live near here?" she asked. "Yes," Milan said softly. "I saw the ship when it first came down. I cannot stay away." Leah nodded. "I understand. I feel the same. The ship draws us, like it has a voice." They stood together, looking at the mountains that hid the buried vessel. Neither spoke for a while, for words were too small for what they both felt. That night, the alien ships moved for the first time in many days. They descended lower, their shadows stretching over cities and deserts. Beams of light scanned the ground, reaching the mountains. People panicked, fearing an attack. But no weapons were fired. Instead, the aliens sent a new message. On every screen, in every language, the words appeared: "Return what is ours. Do not delay. The ship is not yours to keep." Leaders answered with silence. They could not admit to the aliens that they had no intention of surrendering the vessel. Instead, they strengthened their defenses. Missile batteries were placed around the mountains. Underground bunkers were filled with supplies. Every soldier was told to be ready. Leah felt a heavy weight in her chest. She warned the commanders. "If you resist, you may bring war upon us. We do not understand their strength. They could destroy us if they wished." But the generals shook their heads. "We have no choice. To surrender without trying would mean weakness. Humanity must prove that Earth is not a place to be commanded." Milan listened from the shadows. He felt torn. He admired the courage of his people, yet he feared their pride would bring disaster. The aliens had waited for 30,000 years. Would they show mercy if humans stood in their way? The next day, digging teams reached what seemed to be an entrance. A vast door of shining metal revealed itself. Strange markings covered its surface, glowing faintly when touched. Engineers tried to open it with machines, but nothing worked. Then, without warning, the door began to move on its own. Soldiers raised their weapons, expecting danger. The ground shook, and dust poured down as the great door slid open. Inside, a tunnel stretched into darkness, filled with a pale blue glow. The air smelled sharp, like lightning after a storm. Leah stepped forward, but soldiers blocked her. "It may be a trap," they said. Still, her eyes shone with wonder. "It is not a trap. It is an invitation." The alien ships in the sky reacted at once. Their lights flashed brighter, and a low hum rolled across the land. It was as if they felt their ship awaken, calling to them. That night, human leaders made their choice final. They would not return the vessel. They would enter it, study it, and claim whatever secrets it held. Orders were given to move deeper into the ship at dawn. Milan sat on a hill, watching the camps below. He saw the humans preparing for what was coming, and he saw the alien ships glowing like silent watchers above. He knew the two sides would soon meet face to face. In the silence of the desert night, he whispered to himself, "The storm is coming." The desert was alive with tension. Soldiers worked through the night, setting up stronger defenses around the mountains. Lights from their camps glowed across the sand, while the alien ships hung above like silent stars. No one could sleep. Everyone felt the weight of what waited under the earth. At dawn, the soldiers entered the newly opened passage. Their boots echoed against the strange floor, smooth and shining like glass yet stronger than stone. The air inside was cool and filled with a faint blue mist. Lights ran along the walls, waking slowly as if the ship itself was aware of their steps. Leah walked with the team of scientists. Her eyes widened at every detail. She touched the walls and felt them pulse under her fingertips, as though they were alive. Symbols glowed where her hands brushed the surface. She quickly took notes, but she knew no words could fully capture what she was seeing. Deeper inside, the tunnels led to great halls. Machines stood in silence, tall and strange, shaped in ways humans could not understand. Some looked like thrones of metal, others like pools of liquid light. Every part of the ship seemed to hum with hidden power. Soldiers kept their weapons ready, though the scientists begged them not to shoot unless in danger. Milan, who had been allowed to join because of his knowledge of the land, followed quietly at the edge of the group. His heart beat fast. He had never been inside such a place. To him, it felt sacred, like a temple left by beings beyond human reach. He did not take notes, he did not ask questions, he simply looked, storing every sight in his memory. One chamber stopped the group in awe. At its center stood a tall pillar of crystal, glowing from within. Lines of light ran up and down its surface, filling the hall with shifting patterns. Leah gasped. "This is the heart," she whispered. "This is the core of the ship." When one scientist placed a scanner near the pillar, the machine sparked and shut down. The ship rejected human tools, but it responded strangely to human touch. When Leah stepped closer and placed her hand on the crystal, the lights brightened and the walls around them shifted, showing moving images. Scenes appeared: stars, galaxies, and distant worlds. Everyone stared in silence as the ship showed them its memories. Great fleets sailed across the universe, meeting other beings, building cities among the stars. Then came an image of the ship falling, flames around it, crashing into Earth's young mountains. The vision ended with silence. Leah's voice trembled as she spoke. "It is showing us its past. It remembers everything." The aliens above Earth reacted at the same moment. Their ships glowed brighter, sending waves of sound across the sky. It was as if they too felt the awakening of their lost vessel. But not everyone felt wonder. The generals grew uneasy. "This ship is too powerful," one of them said. "If we can learn its secrets, we may hold the strongest weapon in history. We cannot give this away." Leah argued, "This is not meant for us. It belongs to them. If we take too much, we may pay a terrible price." Her words were ignored. More teams were sent inside with heavy equipment. They tried to cut samples from the walls, but the ship fought back. Sparks flew, machines broke, and one tunnel sealed itself when drills touched it. It was clear the vessel would not allow harm. Milan watched these attempts with unease. He felt the ship was alive, almost like a sleeping giant that did not wish to be wounded. He told Leah quietly, "If they keep pushing, something will happen. This place will not stay silent forever." That night, as storms rolled across the desert, Leah sat in her tent, writing her thoughts. She believed the ship was more than a machine. It seemed to respond to human presence, especially to touch and emotion. It almost felt as though it was listening, trying to understand who they were. Outside, Milan kept watch on the sky. The alien vessels moved closer, their lights covering the mountains. Their warning was clear: time was running out. The next day, soldiers forced open another chamber. Inside, they found seats arranged in circles, glowing faintly. When one soldier sat on one, the seat wrapped light around his body. He shouted in fear, but then fell silent. His eyes grew distant, and he spoke in a voice not his own. "This ship is not yours. Leave." The seat released him, and he collapsed to the floor, trembling. Panic spread among the soldiers, but Leah knelt beside the man and calmed him. She looked up at the generals. "Do you still not see? This ship is aware. It is speaking to us. If you treat it as a prize, it will fight back." The generals frowned but said nothing. They were not ready to surrender. They wanted the power, even if it meant danger. As evening fell, the alien ships lowered further. The air buzzed with strange energy. Animals fled the desert. The people of Earth held their breath. Milan stood beside Leah, watching the glow above the mountains. "The storm is closer now," he said quietly. And deep within the buried vessel, the crystal core pulsed stronger than ever, as though preparing for what was to come. The desert trembled with energy. Above the mountains, alien ships hovered, glowing with immense power. Their presence filled the air with pressure, making humans feel small and fragile. Soldiers and scientists alike watched with fear and awe as their own machines failed against the invisible force that the ships radiated. The generals had made their decision. They would not give up the lost ship. They believed that with enough planning and strength, humans could take control of it. Missiles were armed, fighter jets readied, and heavy artillery aimed at the sky. Communication lines buzzed with urgency as leaders coordinated defenses. Milan stood on a ridge, watching the world he had known change in an instant. Dust blew in the wind, swirling around the army below. He saw the fear in the eyes of soldiers, the hesitation of scientists, and the confidence of leaders who believed they could control what they did not understand. Milan shivered. The storm Leah had warned about was no longer distant. It was here. Inside the buried ship, the crystal core pulsed violently. Lights moved along the walls like flowing rivers, illuminating halls that had been silent for thousands of years. The vessel seemed aware of human intentions. Its pulse grew stronger, echoing in the minds of those who dared enter. Leah and her team watched the core, trying to understand its power. "It is testing us," she said. "It can sense fear, courage, and intent. We cannot force it. We can only respect it or suffer the consequences." Suddenly, above the desert, the first clash began. Alien drones descended, moving faster than any human eye could follow. Fighter jets tried to intercept them, but they were outmatched. The drones struck with precision, disabling weapons and spreading confusion among the human forces. Explosions lit the night, and smoke rose into the sky. Milan ran toward the edge of the ridge as a shockwave hit the ground. Sand flew in all directions, knocking him off his feet. He scrambled to stand and watched in disbelief as the drones circled the mountain, ignoring gunfire and missiles. It became clear that human technology alone could not stop the aliens. Leah stayed inside the ship, feeling the tremors of battle above. The crystal core pulsed faster, and beams of light shot across the walls, projecting visions of the past. The ship had faced many dangers before, and it would defend itself. She realized that the vessel was not only powerful, but intelligent. It could choose allies and foes, and it had already decided humans were testing it. Outside, soldiers fought with courage, but panic spread quickly. Some tried to retreat, while others pressed forward, determined to hold the mountain. Explosions shook the ground, and the hum of alien engines filled the air. Humans were strong and persistent, but the aliens were stronger, faster, and more precise. Milan saw a group of soldiers trapped near a cliff edge. Without thinking, he ran to help, shouting for them to follow him. They climbed to safety, but the path was dangerous, and many fell into the dust below. Despite the chaos, Milan's courage stood out. He did not have weapons, yet he acted decisively to save others. Inside the ship, the core seemed to respond to his bravery. The glow strengthened, and a pathway opened, leading the scientists deeper into the vessel. Leah realized that the ship could sense humans differently, those who acted out of fear and those who acted out of courage. She knew this was the key to survival. The battle raged on for hours. Human missiles destroyed some drones, but the aliens adapted quickly. Beams of light cut through tanks, disabling them without fire. Fighter jets were forced to retreat. It became clear that humans could not win by force alone. They had to find another way. As night fell, the desert was quiet, but the tension remained. Humans had shown courage, but they had also provoked a response far stronger than expected. The alien ships hovered, waiting. The buried vessel pulsed, alive and aware, watching both sides. Milan approached Leah near the entrance of the ship. "We cannot fight them with weapons," he said. "We have to show them we are not enemies." Leah nodded, understanding. "We have to prove that humanity has grown. We cannot just resist. We must act wisely and with respect." Above them, the alien fleet glowed like a river of stars, ready to strike again. The humans had survived the first clash, but they knew more battles were coming. And deep within the mountains, the lost ship pulsed brighter than ever, aware of both fear and courage. The time of decision was near. Humans would either learn to stand as equals or face destruction. The desert was quiet at first light. The battle had ended, but the tension remained. The alien ships hovered above the mountains, their lights pulsing slowly. The buried vessel remained calm, its crystal core glowing steadily. Humans and aliens had both survived the clash, but no one could ignore the fragile peace that hung in the air. Milan stood on a ridge overlooking the sight. His hands were covered in dust, and his clothes were worn from days of work and fear. He had watched soldiers, scientists, and civilians struggle against forces far beyond their understanding. He had seen courage and fear, pride and humility. The lessons of the past weeks weighed on him like stones, heavy but necessary. Leah emerged from the ship, carrying her notes and sketches. Her eyes were bright with both exhaustion and understanding. "We cannot win by force," she said quietly to Milan. "The ship is alive. The aliens are watching. They want the lost vessel back, but they are not our enemies unless we make them so." Above, the alien fleet began to descend closer to the mountains. Beams of light scanned the desert, searching for movement. The hum of their engines filled the air, low and powerful. Humans held their ground, but weapons were silent. Everyone knew that no machine could defeat them. Only human choices could change the outcome. Leaders gathered in a temporary command center. Generals and politicians argued quietly. Some wanted to continue resistance, to fight for the secrets of the ship. Others feared destruction and argued for surrender. Leah stood in the middle of the room and spoke clearly. "We have proven ourselves," she said. "We have courage. We have intelligence. But if we act without respect, we will be destroyed. The aliens are not here to harm us, they want what was lost. If we return it willingly, we may gain something far greater: knowledge, trust, and respect." Her words were met with silence. The generals glanced at each other, uncertain. Finally, one of the older leaders spoke. "If we surrender the ship peacefully, do we risk giving away technology beyond our understanding? Leah shook her head. It is not about weapons. It is about understanding our place. They are not our enemies. They are older and wiser. To take from them is to fail before we begin. Milan joined the group. We have a chance to show them humanity is worthy, he said. We do not need to fight. We only need to choose wisely. The decision was made. Representatives approached the entrance of the buried vessel. The crystal core glowed warmly, as if recognizing the intention of humans. The lights shifted, creating patterns that resembled welcoming gestures. Leah and Milan led the group forward. They carried symbols of respect, a gesture of peace rather than challenge. The air felt alive, charged with energy that was not dangerous but powerful. The humans felt as though they were walking not only into a ship, but into history itself. Outside, the alien ships pulsed in response. One by one, beams of light extended toward the ground, touching the desert gently. The humans felt no fear. Instead, they sensed awareness, recognition, and acceptance. The aliens were no longer invaders, they were witnesses to humanity's courage and choice. Inside the ship, Leah and Milan guided the representatives to the core. The glowing crystal opened pathways, revealing chambers filled with knowledge of stars, energy, and movement. Scrolls of light, maps of galaxies, and histories of civilizations long gone were displayed before their eyes. This is their gift, Leah whispered. By returning the lost vessel, we gain not weapons, but understanding. We become partners, not subjects. The alien ships above began to lift slowly, signaling the return of their fleet. The sky shimmered with colors humans had never seen, reflecting the movement of beings who had returned after 30,000 years. Their lost vessel rose from the ground, glowing with the light of 1,000 stars, and connected with the ships in the sky. Milan felt a strange joy. The desert was no longer a place of fear, but a place of wonder. Humanity had survived, not by strength, but by wisdom and respect. The world had grown, and Earth had become more than just a forgotten planet. As the ships prepared to depart, one final beam of light touched the humans on the ridge. In that light, they felt understanding, a silent message of gratitude, and a promise: Earth was no longer beneath them, but beside them in the vastness of space. The alien fleet disappeared into the sky, leaving behind trails of shimmering light. The buried ship, once lost and feared, now rested quietly, its crystal core pulsing gently, a reminder of what had been achieved. Milan and Leah stood together, watching the horizon. We survived, Milan said softly. We were lucky, and we were wise. Leah nodded. More than that, she replied. We proved humanity is capable of respect, courage, and understanding. That is the true strength of our kind. The desert returned to silence, but it was a different silence now, one filled with hope, wisdom, and the knowledge that Earth had earned its place among the stars. And somewhere, in the vastness of space, the aliens remembered humanity not as a weak planet, but as a world that had grown, learned, and become worthy of recognition. The lost ship had been found, respect had been earned, and Earth would never be the same again.